Have you ever felt like you're on the precipice of understanding something truly profound about yourself, yet it remains just out of reach? That's where Jeffrey Brunk comes in, a shamanic healer, Usui Reiki master, and spiritual counselor who will share his wisdom and understanding of the delicate balance of light and shadow. Explore the unseen realms with Jeffrey as your guide, one who has traversed these paths, facing his own wounds to emerge as an everyday shaman. Jeffrey's journey through shamanic practice, shadow work, and energy healing unveils the intricate ways in which these forces shape our physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. Whether you're taking the initial steps towards inner betterment or you're further along on your path, there is something within this podcast that will resonate with you. Delve into the essence of what it means to navigate life's challenges with an everyday shaman's insight and discover the joy and purpose that can be found even in chaos. Join the Everyday Shaman in an extraordinary journey in which we will explore topics that could very well change the way you perceive the dance of light and shadow in your life and the world around you. A journey to greater self-awareness and the unseen world around us. Welcome to the Everyday Shaman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Everyday Shaman. I'm your host, Jeffrey Brunk, and today I have with me guest Karre Kern. She is a therapist and mindfulness coach. She has a bachelor's in theater, bachelor's in social work, a master's in clinical social work. She's a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed massage therapist, and if that's not enough, she's also a notary public. Karre has more than 20 years of experience helping facilitate positive change with a diverse clientele. Through her massage therapy practice, she discovered the healing that is possible for both herself and her clients and was inspired by the many years of personal narratives shared with her during the bodywork sessions. Through her massage therapy practice, she discovered the healing that is possible for both herself and her clients. Inspired by the many years of personal narratives, she continued her journey into mental health. Healing of the whole person, mind, body, spirit, is central to her clinical practice. Through her varied life and work experiences and travels in diverse communities around the world, she developed a creative, industrious, and culturally sensitive approach to her practice. She also has lived experience with many of her areas that she focuses on in her practice, and therefore has a deep understanding of how difficult they can be. She brings into her practice an incredibly strong desire to provide the best possible therapeutic approach to those currently working on processing through. She's passionate about being a helper in the healing world. Those closest to her know her as an ardent mom, wife, and nana, a traveler, and an arts-inspired, social equity-loving creator. So, Karre, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I know it's several hours ahead, so thanks for being patient with me as I was a little bit late coming on. So, in reading your bio, you and I have known each other for quite a number of years. In that first sentence alone, I knew about the massage therapist. I knew about a little bit about the theater, being you're from a lineage of other people in entertainment. So not really knowing where to start with a question, kind of tell me a little bit about what brought you to the place where you go from theater to social work to massage therapy, and then, to end it up with being a notary public.
Why not? One more thing. So started in massage, and I hadn't really even experienced that much massage in my life at that point, but I was drawn to the healing power and the connection that can happen with touch. Gain perspective on how touch really can affect your senses and your mood.
Yeah, when you were doing massage, or when you are doing, do you still practice that?
COVID kind of closed the doors on my practice of it, so I just family friends at this point.
So when you were doing massage, it's sort of like, I guess, doing Reiki in a way. You have a positive intention for bringing betterment to someone. It's not just, they of course would tell you my back hurts or whatever it may be, but the way you approach it, did you go about approaching it with an intention of, I'm really wanting to help, and you saw a difference in that aside from just someone coming in and, going to one of the local spas or local massage therapists and getting beaten down to death with like a full deep tissue massage? I know what that feels like.
Yeah, in school, the certification is about 10 months long, And we did practice on each other as part of certification. And, there were different people, personalities, lifestyles as part of the school. And that helped me further. I had a greater, I guess you could say, drive based on how I interacted with other classmates and when we were sharing our hopes and dreams about what we wanted for this to become, to just, as you said, make a difference in someone's day and hopefully do some healing on different levels.
Yeah. Even in looking at whether it's theater, social work, I guess in a way a notary too. Everything that you've done provides a form of healing, like with theater and entertainment, whether it's bringing someone to laugh, which is one of the greatest forms. I mean, I try that all the time. Or, I look at I see humor in everything. So that helps bring people to another place when they might be, say, down in a low trough of negativity or despair, or whatever it may be. And then, of course, social work is definitely helping people. So you have a healing quality or a healing drive within you.
Mm-hmm.
Even with a notary, people need that.
People need that. And I was hoping that I'd get some unions. That's what I was really hoping for. That didn't happen yet.
To get some what out of it?
To get some wedded unions, because in the state of Maine, you can be the person to marry people if you're a notary.
Really?
Yeah. So I was kind of hoping that would happen. I would love to be that person.
I've had that asked of me a couple of times because I'm ordained non-denominationally and circumstances prevented it. But I wasn't aware of that in Maine.
Yeah. That was my original reason for becoming the notary.
Mm-hmm. But it was massage that started before.
Massage was the one that kind of kicked things off. And then I practiced massage therapy out of my home. And of course, I did subcontracting in a salon here and there and worked for a chiropractor subcontracting at one point. But I always saw people. I had a space in my home, a healing space, for a long time before I moved from that town. And then I just set up a table in my living room. Had people, only people that I knew, come over at that point.
Yeah. Since we've lived here 5.5 years, I've maybe had 3-4 people because we're out in the middle of the woods. So I do most of my, say 99% of things I do distance. I'm wondering if you would be able to actually, because the intention is being at the root of everything with massage as well. It should be, but that's a whole other thing. It started with massage. So the bachelor's and the master's, they came after that because it seems like massage wasn't that long ago. Maybe that's just me and I'm getting older, so things go faster. So, I've got one foot in the grave. The bachelor's and the master's, if they came after massage, because that's to get those degrees in especially a master's, and that takes several years, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a long journey to get from there to here. Massage was 2002. I've been practicing massage therapy since 2003. Well, 2002 I started. And then I had to pause because I was pregnant with my son, and that's hard to do when you have a ginormous belly in front of you. And then I was also going to school for theater. That I graduated in 2007.
Do you feel like that was naturally within you based upon, it was your father, right? That he was in show business. I'm a comedian.
Yes, he was a
Do you think you
stand-up
have that
comic.
gene, that kind of propelled you
Definitely.
towards that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of my, okay, we'll call it proof. My sister and I were estranged for many years because we have different mothers. Dad divorced her mom and lost touch with my sister. And she was about 8 when that happened. And after my dad passed away, lost touch with her. He passed away when I was 17. So that was just within a few years of them getting a divorce. So my poor sister, she had the wham of her parents divorcing, and then she had the wham of father passing away, and the wham of me kind of disappearing from her life for a while because I was trying to find my own way after all that.
Yeah. Did you end up reconciling in a way, or no?
We did, yeah. I found her. I decided, okay, when she turns 18, I'm going to find her if it hasn't happened by then. So I did find her, and it turned out that she had gotten her degree in theater.
Wow.
By that point, she was in school for theater and was graduating, and that was my pursuit as well.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hope you're enjoying this episode of the Everyday Shaman. If you'd like to learn more about me, shamanism, Usui Reiki, shadow work, read testimonials, schedule a free video chat for Q&A, or even schedule a shamanic healing session for yourself, visit www.everydayshaman.net. That's www.everydayshaman.net. Now enjoy the rest of the show.
And now your son, who I've watched grow up via Facebook, is sort of a prodigy in his own right with artistic talents such as music and things like that. So I guess it runs in the family.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean,
And he seems to be, for his age, even at a young age, very open and aware and sort of an old soul.
Yeah. Yep. And I think he was even one of his first child checks. I can remember the nurse practitioner saying, he's an old soul. Saw it in his eyes.
How old is he now? He's in college now too, right?
In college, he's 21. He's pursuing a degree in directing. So yeah, he has the bug. He wants to write a novel. He was gifted and talented, in middle school for his writing, and he's an artsy guy.
So does he also have the empathy gene or empathy within him? Like,
Oh yeah,
want to help others?
oh yeah,
Is
definitely.
that part of his reasoning for going into the arts?
I think so. I think he wants to create some stuff that kind of pushes the envelope and gets people thinking.
Yeah.
Not just, to make money on a big blockbuster, which
But
I'm
he's
sure he's not opposed to.
But for a long time, I guess he kind of knew what he wanted to do in one way or another.
So when he was in high school, he really liked mock trial. You go through in a real courtroom setting, you get to play out being in a trial situation, and you get to play the person on trial, you get to play the lawyers and all that stuff. And he really liked it. And so I thought, okay, he's got his life planned out. He's going to become a lawyer. I don't have to worry about him.
Yeah. Well,
and then I realized he liked mock trial because it was pretend.
It was acting.
It was creative. Yeah. It wasn't.
It's really rare for someone so young to kind of know what they want to do from such an early age. They may not know exactly, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's okay to take different paths and look for that. I think it's very healthy actually to do that, but it's really rare for someone to know at an early age what they want to do and to pursue it. And even with your son, he's pursued it, but in different avenues to get to where he is now. So he's learned different things along the way. It's like having different careers. It's like starting thinking we want to be a lawyer, but liking the acting part.
Yeah, but he's definitely in his element where he is.
I was 44 at the time, and still I'd had so many jobs and so many careers and not knowing. I always knew I wanted to help people somehow. I liked working with people and everything I did, but you never know where it's going to lead you. But it's Quincy, right?
Quincy.
He's also very musically talented.
He is. He played the viola. He chose that instrument in elementary school, and you can do that. And he ended up in a rock orchestra. That was pretty fun. That he
had to play Tommy, right?
Yeah. It was no small feat to get into the rock orchestra. When he got into it, that was saying something about how he was doing with his instrument for sure. And also just with himself. He had to, you can't conduct a bunch of kids who are kind of with this particular conductor, and what he wanted, his vision for his orchestra, was pretty tight. There wasn't a lot of shenanigans that went on, if any. It was really professional, and yeah, there was a process. And I can remember, this part was funny, I can remember giving him the sheet music, being there when he was practicing for the audition. And he says to me, "It's kind of boring, Mom." The sheet music was kind of boring to him. And I'm like, okay. And then I look at the sheet music that he was given, and I'm like, that's not boring. That's Prince.
Good Will
and then
Hunting.
I played him the song.
So he can play a lot of different instruments,
Prince.
right?
But it's just, he taught himself keyboard. He messes around with the guitar. His grandfather also taught himself guitar. So
on the Prince scale, Prince taught himself 27 different instruments. In his
Amazing.
first album, I believe he played every instrument on the album as well as the vocals. So how many instruments away is your son?
A couple.
Oh man, that's just wonderful though. I played clarinet when I was in elementary school and got accepted to the North Carolina School of the Arts when I was in 5th grade. Didn't go because my parents gave me little too much latitude. I would rather be jumping bikes over ditches at that age.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that it had to be difficult for them at times because they knew I was going to fall on my face. But if you don't fall and you don't get back up, which is the most important part, you don't learn.
Yeah.
So did you approach it the same way with him or with your daughter?
More so, my daughter is an anomaly. I never had to. I say that in a proud way. She never had to worry about her as far as school goes. She was doing her schoolwork. She's always had a heart of gold. Like, I can remember her making bracelets to sell at a little table at a festival and giving the money to the animal shelter and not expecting anything in return for that at all.
So she's got a warm heart
She
and a
definitely has a warm heart. Yeah.
caring nature. What is she doing now?
She's a mom. She's doing the hard job.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's doing mom, and she's also doing nanny now. But
So she too is doing things that, whether it's a mom, which is sort of ingrained that you're going to be caring for,
yeah,
but even being a nanny is caring for other people and their children.
yeah.
That's another trait that looks like it's been sort of branched out.
Yeah, it might not. I'm not sure beyond that where her journey continues, and I don't know if she is either.
Well, she's only how old now?
Well, she's going to be 31.
Yeah.
I'm doing the math in my head as we speak to see if I got it wrong.
Yeah, but you're not trying to push her in any one direction, I wouldn't.
No. Plus, if I tried, that's not going to work.
No. Yeah, and sorry, ladies out there listening, for women, no, you can't push them anyway.
Nope.
They're going to go where they want to go.
Nope, I raised a strong daughter, that is for sure. She will make up her mind. Thank you very much.
Yeah. When did you come around and especially with the masters in social work, starting with the bachelors?
During massage, so I got the social work and then the massage first, and then the bachelor's in theater, and then the social work. While I was on the job, I had a hospice client for massage in our neighborhood. So I would go to their home, and at first I would bring my table, and the client, she could get on the table. She was in her late 90s. She could still get on the table. Her daughter was very, we're talking about the woods of Maine, which you might stereotype as a bunch of farmers, and maybe they don't do anything else.
And Stephen King.
And that's what they know. That's all they know. And some of that is true. There are farmers in Maine, yes. And this family, the kind woman who hired me to come and see her mother for massage she did Tai Chi.
Yeah, Tai Chi. Energetic movements. Yeah.
She was doing Tai Chi herself. And one of the times that I came to the home, there was a social worker there. The social worker was there because this client's son-in-law was passing away. He had cancer. And so it was a hospice social worker who was at the home for him. They were talking about how everybody was, how they're handling all this. And the interaction that I felt between them just was really heartwarming. And I left that day going, whatever job that was, I want to do that.
Just another step in your.
That's where, and then I looked it up. And it was, you just need a master's degree in social work. No problem.
Quit showing off. What's the difference between social work and clinical social work?
Social work, bachelor level, you can do all kinds of good things. social work, master's clinical level, you can hang your own shingle and do your own therapy.
Is that what you do now?
That's what I do now.
So you did that in Maine,
I did that all in Maine, yep.
and now you're in Sweden.
Now I'm in Sweden. Whoops, how did
So,
that happen?
yeah, I want to ask you about that too, how that all came about. When you went to Sweden, did you find the transition from the U.S. to another country and doing the same work sort of the same, as far as practice goes? Or was there a difference culturally that you had to adjust to
Yeah.
with doing that type of work?
No adjustment necessary because I only see people in the U.S. on the computer.
Oh, really?
Only telehealth. Yeah.
So you're sort of like on a true work, I won't say vacation, but yeah, it sort of is.
Sort of. It is because I'm not even in Sweden all year long because we're also, as you probably can tell,
All over the
spending a lot of
world.
time all over the place. Yeah.
And I'm a little bit jealous of that.
I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah. I still am not sure how that I managed to have that be my life, but
But you can still, since you do everything online with people, you can go anywhere in the world and still be able to do your work.
still be able to do
So,
my work. Yeah. The only thing I got to worry about, do I have internet? And I got to keep track of time differences.
yeah. So the transition from each of these professions or each of these things that you've done, it seems sort of natural. But you'd mentioned that you have experiences that kind of in your own life that have led you, I imagine, to wanting to really help people. So can you share some of those or some of the reasons throughout your
Yeah.
life that caused
Yeah.
that?
I really feel like, honestly, I think the whole helper thing started because when I was very young, early, like it could be, I might have been between 5 and 7 years old. My father, I think he was an ed tech I think that was his role, at a school for kids who had mental limitations or disabilities or abilities. There were kids that had difficulty functioning in the society as we know it, either physically or mentally or both. Mostly it was a combination that I can
Mhm.
recall as a young kid. So we're talking, I can remember him taking me there, and this would probably never happen in public school today or a school that was only for this purpose today. I don't know. But we're talking like it's the 70s is when that was happening. And things were a little different then with laws and regulations and people following policies. And
Yeah, and
uh,
at that time too, people with any kind of emotional, and it was the same way, I think, up until the 70s or maybe 80s, where people with emotional or psychological issues, they weren't quite understood.
oh, yeah. I mean, I tell my clients often, I get a lot of times I'll get somebody who will want to be diagnosed with, they want to know if they have autism or not, adult diagnosis of autism. They think they might have autism. And I'm like, I can absolutely diagnose you. I'm just saying our diagnostic manual is in its fifth edition. So that's not very old. There's a lot we don't know. Not,
Yeah, yeah, that's
it's
true.
still very early in the game when it comes to mental health.
There are so many psychiatrists, psychologists out there that they'll just go straight to the book. When I was diagnosed bipolar, it was a physician's assistant, grabbed the book and looked at a paragraph, I think, in there. No doctor ever saw me. No tests were ever done. The
Mm-hmm.
and this was back in early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And so that began my journey down the road to, I think, 16 different types before I had a break. I mean,
Yeah.
a literal break.
Yeah. I think that happens a lot because of the stigma attached to mental health that people don't go to see a therapist to check these things out. They're more comfortable with their medical provider, which is, unfortunately, the stigma's there. So I think that creates a barrier often. You
And it
put so
creates
much.
a lot more problems because a lot of times these people, if it's not a physical issue, but more of an emotional or psychological issue, it's not necessarily a problem. It could be people that are just more open and aware of things. And just to say, oh, well,
Mm,
you hear voices in your head, that's not necessarily a bad thing because I do. And I have
right?
if they're telling you to do bad things to yourself or to other people, that's one thing.
Yes.
But if they're affirming, that's another. But just to say, oh, well, I'm having voices, and especially in younger people, and that scares younger people. It scares anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, oh, am I crazy because I'm
Yes.
talking to myself or I'm hearing these voices? But if they're affirming, you're on the right path, you're doing the right things, that's not a bad thing. But then to be given a bunch of medication for it, a lot of times quells an awareness or an understanding about yourself that may be surfacing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I always tell people that I see in therapy, I'm not pro and I'm not against medication. I'm pro what is going to work best. Being from a massage therapy side of the fence, I always lean towards if something more holistic and natural will help, can we try that first if it's possible to try that first without somebody being in an unsafe situation? If safety is a thing, then that's different.
And you're a rarity because most of the medical community and psychological community do not look at it that way. They kind of shun the holistic side of things or the alternative side of things. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, there's such a belief within themselves that that is the way to go, or that's the way they're taught. And two, there's a monetary aspect to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I remember seeing drug reps in the waiting room while I was waiting for
yeah.
It's good to hear that that's the way you look at it, because massage therapy is a form of energy work.
Oh, yeah, totally believe that. Yeah. I use aspects of energy work in my therapy sessions when I can nudge. Sometimes the EFT and tapping where you go around the acupuncture points.
Yes.
I do that often with clients. I make scripts, the theater degree comes in handy. We write a script out for their own difficulty in session, and then we tweak it as we go. Does that feel like, does that sound like, does that word that I used resonate with you? Does it make sense? Do you feel that in your body making sense? That is a helpful thing.
So that's talk therapy. It's another form of energy work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit difficult to grasp for a lot of people. You're going to think this is going to sound crazy. Now, when you do the tapping, because doing it online, you're unable to do that. Do you have other ways?
Oh, we do it. They follow me and they do it to themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If they know the intention of it, and words are energy, and if it's done with intention and you're showing them with intention and they're doing it with the same intention, then yeah, it's therapeutic. There's
a great documentary on emotional freedom technique. I've saved it on my YouTube channel on a public playlist if people want to. Control group of veterans using EFT in an intensive format. They were all together in some facility somewhere going through therapy, utilizing clinical skills and using emotional freedom technique and tapping. And I think they were in this facility all together doing probably group therapy, I think, as well as individual. We're talking some intense PTSD. There was a 60% rescission rate of PTSD symptoms over time. That's a pretty big number.
We carry so much, and people with PTSD can overcome a lot of their issues. And not saying they don't need therapy in some way, because everyone needs someone to talk to and to let things out to, because taking those things and just internalizing them causes a lot more problems, exacerbates any issues, and then can manifest in any number of physical conditions. Had you worked with people that hadn't held on to things that long?
Again, the stigma, I think, gets in the way sometimes.
And you find you have to have some level of, it goes a little further than empathy, but it's an understanding of having been not necessarily in the same circumstances and situations that the person had been in, but something that you could relate to them with on some level that gets them to open up.
I think that it definitely helps. Sure. I think that, absolutely in situations like, some self-help groups for substance use, it helps because everybody understands. They've been there. And you feel comfortable sharing in a group like that where people understand and they're not judging you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like a big part of helping people heal trauma is building that trust.
Yeah, my mom had a plethora, one of my favorite words, of physical issues, and had to go to the doctor for any number of them, from COPD to degenerative joint disease, and there were so many. But she would always say, no matter how bad her issues were, she would see people and she would tell us, my sister and I, there are people out there with a lot worse problems and a lot worse issues than I have. And so, not downplaying the
Yeah.
PTSD or any other issues for anyone else, but
Yeah.
there's always someone else out there that has something as bad or worse. And sometimes I guess being in a group therapy situation is really another good reason for that, is to see that I'm not in a good place, but I'm not where this person is. And that could also help the person that's realizing that say, maybe I can help this person. It's sort of that ripple effect again.
Yeah, group therapy, they often end up helping each other, and you just sit back as a therapist and watch. You know, they're all doing the work for each other.
Moving to Sweden, has it caused you to learn new customs? It has, but things that are just maybe a little difficult.
Midsummer is the only time that I've seen people do. There's this thing, you can find it on YouTube. It's Midsummer for Dummies. You can YouTube that, and they have this frog hopping. It's like you're frog hopping around the pole, the midsummer pole.
Sort of like we would do, I guess, 4th of July celebrations. Now, is that a holiday over there? Because it lasts.
Oh yeah, it's a national holiday. It's a pagan practice. It goes back to pagan practices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
I just pissed a lot of people off who are going to listen to this.
I mean, there's no way to please everyone all the time. And
No.
they can be upset about it. They want to be.
It's an example of when you are listening. Stressing this to people is, I do it all the time. It frustrates me when people don't listen to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I know every country had lockdowns and quarantines. Mm-hmm. It seems like you're out in a place where you live that's sort of a little more remote. You're not in an urban setting. Of course, nature is healing. But were you there during the quarantine period?
Yes. So for the world to suddenly stop allowing people to cross borders was like, well, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. We community of family and friends is very close here. So Sweden did they had a different approach to COVID. They did social distancing. They didn't really close down things like we did in the US. Mm-hmm. And there was some of that, of course, because the border was closed. But they didn't implement masks either.
Really?
They didn't do that. I think understanding how some places, like you were saying earlier, there were places that had it worse, like the US. Okay, at least we're not them. We don't have it as bad, like how that was kind of viewed. The things that we have gone through in just this pandemic time. Wow.
Yeah. We could do a whole other talk on COVID, because I have my own, for the US at least, not conspiratorial, but my own ideas of COVID and the quarantines and things like that. But let me circle back around a minute to the social work.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the healing, the traumas that you've worked with people that are the type of traumas that you've helped people with, can you give me kind of a little bit of a range of what sticks out in your mind?
The majority of the people that find me and that I end up working with have experienced significant trauma of one kind or another. The buzzwords tend to be big T trauma and small t trauma. I have a little bit of a different take. I feel like trauma is trauma. If your experience with that was traumatic, then that's your experience.
Yeah. Something small to us could be something really life-altering or very difficult for someone else. So it's...
Yeah. So I don't tend to go big T, little t. It's trauma.
Did you see that your practice you were doing online at the time during COVID? Mm-hmm. Did you see it increase during this time?
Definitely an increase in clients who it wasn't necessarily because of COVID. It was COVID reignited something there. And then COVID made it worse, kind of.
But it was them being taken out of everyday life, static of the job and the traffic and everything, and then being quarantined without all of that stuff coming in. They started becoming aware of other things, and it scared a lot of them.
So and then, from that point to the things that changed in how humans are relating to each other, at least in the US, in my experience, brought out some pretty nasty things in some people and kind of allowed them to this sort of, you can say whatever you want to say on a Facebook post, for example, and have no sense of accountability for it.
Yeah. And that's only gotten worse. There's so much divisiveness now. And
Yeah.
I know that there's divisiveness worldwide, but
Yes.
here it's reaching a tipping point very, very quickly. Once things kind of came back to normal, if you want to call it that. One thing I hate about social media, even though it's sort of a necessary evil for us, is that, like you said, people can just spout off whatever they want to without repercussions. And these people think that they're always right. Their opinion's the only one that matters. I never get into back and forth online because it's pointless anymore. You can't speak to someone's comments without repercussions of having them come back at you in a hateful way.
Yeah.
It's sad to see, but it's really difficult to watch it continue to spiral that way.
Yeah. And I try to go, okay, they know not what they do, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think they do know, but I think I hold out hope that they often don't.
I think most all do, but it's so much easier to take the low road, the easy way, you know?
Yeah, to react.
Living a life of self-awareness is not necessarily easy, and
Very
it's not
true.
that it's not that it's not well, no, it's not easy to do. There have been times where I've gone, oh man, I wish I was the same guy that I used to be, but life was difficult. It was more difficult then. It's a lot easier for people to just go, no, I don't want to deal with that and push it away and just go along with the masses.
Oh yeah.
Even with the divisiveness, you've got the ones that are on the fringe edges of both sides of any issue, and neither one is better than the other as far as the way they treat each other. They can go just as fundamentally off the rails as the ones on the other side can.
Sure.
And neither, on that level, they're both equals. And it's sad to see.
Yeah, and I think that the pandemic kind of brought that out even more intensely in people.
You mentioned mindfulness in your bio. Do you practice mindfulness, or do you help others practice mindfulness, or have you studied it?
Yeah, both of those things. In fact, when, for example, you're doing a clinical note from your session you had with a client when you're a therapist, mindfulness meditation is a drop down choice. It'll say, what did you do today with the client? And there's like this long list of things you can choose from. And mindfulness / meditation tends to be on that list because it works.
But
Yeah.
mindfulness is sort of being in the moment.
Yeah. Be here now. How do I explain be here now? Well, I talk about the whole thing about if you got one foot in the past and one foot in the future, what's happening to the present.
Yeah, because all we have is this moment.
Yeah.
It's our choices that we make in that moment that decide or help decide what happens in the next 10 minutes or the next month, day, month, year.
Absolutely. We have some things against us. We're creatures that like to avoid things that are hard. Why would we want to run towards things that are hard? It makes logical sense. Anything that's work or seems hard, we like to run away from that and go the easier, softer way.
Because everything's handed to us.
We're in a very instant world. Yeah.
Instant gratification, and having to work for anything, especially for yourself.
Self-work is work.
Yeah.
But
if you don't do it for yourself, you can't be of really any help to anyone else.
That's the thing. Yeah. So, people come to me with, oh, I want to get along with my sister, or I want to get along with my spouse better, or I'm so worried about this or that, or I'm so scared of this or that. And I kind of go, okay, you don't have a magic crystal ball, so you can't see in the future how this is going to play out exactly. You can know a lot, that knowing thing, but you can't predict in situations where we're talking about being worried about getting a new job, for example, and the whole job application process and interviewing.
Baby steps, one step at a time.
That's the thing. It's like there are baby steps to it, but that's the slow down part is sometimes the hardest part of it, which is counterintuitive, really, because we're trying to avoid hard work all the time, but yet we can't slow down.
Yeah, I've had a few people come to me that have told me that since they were young, they've had this image of having a husband and then having children and having money and a nice house. It's such a broad vision that they have for themselves that it freezes them from taking the first step. The first step may seem insignificant, but doing one thing at a time instead of looking at, I need to have all of this at once.
Yeah. Breaking down into smaller pieces.
And that's the way mindfulness can help.
Absolutely.
But having expectations in everyday life of how things are going to turn out, you're going to be disappointed more times than not. It's just taking the steps. And if you fall or you fail or you take it on a different path, if you stop trying to push it and make things happen, you'll go the right way. It may take you different routes, but one will lead to another. But sort of like with you, with moving from massage to theater to social work and notary. I keep bringing up notary as a joke. I'm sorry. But they expected by age 30 to have this or this or this and it not be there. And then age 40 and age 50, and it's like, oh, I'm just not. It creates an enormous amount of stress and a sense of an unrealistic sense of failure.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in the moment of realizing what have they done, what has brought them to where they are, where can they go with what they already have.
On this whole rushed society thing, oftentimes we want the end of the healing journey before we even took a step. We want to be right on, and we don't want to be worried about stuff anymore, or be sad about stuff, or be angry about stuff, or be scared about stuff. We want that over right now before we even did any of the work. And sometimes people try for a long time, and they still are stuck. And I always say, how much of your life have you been feeling like this? And it's usually a pretty long time. And how long have you been working towards feeling differently? And that's usually a really significantly shorter period of time. And I'm like, it took you this long to get to here. You can't just snap your fingers. There's a path to take, a path. The path has changed now. You're on a healing journey. And then we start building more bricks in the path from there.
It's one thing to hold on to those things and another to just accept them for what they are, especially things in the past, and then let them go and move forward.
One of the things that I talk about in session with people is towards and away moves in terms of action. You have this emotion or thought in your mind that's like, oh, I'm really angry at my spouse. But in a session, for example, somebody is angry with their spouse about something. And we talk about, okay, the internal feeling of anger. That's what you're feeling inside. And where do you feel it in your body? Let's talk about that. Now, an away move is something that is moving you away from what it is you value, which is your husband that you're angry at. What is something that you might do on the outside? We just talked about what's on the inside. What's something you might do on the outside that's an away move? I might yell back at him, or I might threaten to leave him, or I might go get drunk. Those are all away moves, moving you in the direction away from what it is you truly value. And then, okay, now what is a towards move that will move you in that direction of what it is you do value in your life?
That takes being in the moment.
Yes.
To do that.
Yeah, you got to slow down, which breath is awesome for.
You incorporate breath work into any of the practices that you do within social work.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Really helps you clear your mind, helps you quiet your mind a little bit. And it takes such a small amount of time and no effort because we all breathe. It's just
gotta breathe.
Yeah.
So often we'll just, notice your breath. And you don't have to get into do your breath this way right away. You can just notice it.
That's great. So you're incorporating a lot of healing modalities within your social work. Do you realize that?
I don't really think about it. What else should I call myself? Notary Public was the last one. No, ultimately, I just have been able to experience for myself going through the lowest of your lows and such painful times in my life, and having come through that to experience the complete polar opposite. And I want other people to have that experience too.
And yours is coming out in such subtle ways. They're so connected. I don't know if you see it. I see it as you've spoken, and they come out in such subtle ways. You're helping people. You've helped them energetically through massage. You help them with breath work as a modality within itself. Mindfulness is a modality within itself. The tapping is a modality within itself. The talk therapy as a social worker, you incorporate so many that a lot of people just do with singular therapies for people. So I don't know if you realized how these are all tied together, even with the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wonderful. Yeah. So before we go here, I just wanted to ask you if you had anything else you wanted to contribute or to say, and to let people know how they can get in touch with you if they'd like to get in touch with you. Because I think being online, doing your practice online with your social work, your clinical social work, is a huge, huge advantage for people to be able to reach you.
Honestly, when COVID happened and I had to go online with it, I didn't like it at first because I was a massage therapist. I was physically touching people for hours at a time. So I was not used to this thing and I was hoping it would go away. Now I'm like, I came to find the power in the healing that can happen with one of the devices that I am not best friends with, computers. We're not best friends, but it's definitely a gateway to helping people. So that's what matters the most. There's people that would never get to therapy or get to a session with me unless it was online.
And you're not limited to one area. You're available worldwide.
Truth. We get it done, and I am blessed to be able to work with people that I get to work with. They picked me out of all the
Yeah.
people.
And working for people in different areas of the world. Do you accept insurance of any type? Because I'm sure someone's going to ask that. They've asked me that. So
I do two different things. I do a platform that accepts insurance that I subcontract with, and then I do private pay. And when it's private pay, I can create for the client a receipt that is worthy of reimbursement. You know, it has all the right numbers and data and that they can submit to their insurance company. But it's, you know, kind of on them to find out how much they're going to get reimbursed. And I do a different kind of sliding scale. It's called the green bottle method. That I did not come up with that. And I do list it on my website, the creator of that method. And it's more like a way of creating agency for people to understand what my private pay rate is and choose for themselves which financial category they fall into, and let me know that so that I can adjust their rate according to that.
it's not a stopgap there. I mean, it is an option for people.
Both ends of the spectrum. I have people say, no, I can pay the full rate, and so I'm going to. And I have people say, I can pay the half of the rate. What's that? And then we talk about it, and then they're like, yeah, I can pay half the rate.
You don't turn people away.
No.
Excellent. That's good to hear. That's good. So you're really doing this for the betterment of others. Again, it's not the norm. So,
I'm a little off, not the norm, I suppose.
Yeah. So what is your website, and how can people contact you if they like?
Okay. Website is journey-therapeutic-solutions. There's all these hyphens. Maybe I should make
Journey-therapeutic solutions.
Journey Therapeutic Solutions LLC. They can find me on Facebook, Journey T Solutions, Journey Therapeutic Solutions. They can find me on Instagram. I started doing that. I am just trying to put up videos. Oh, I'm on YouTube too. Really, if you Google my name, Karre Kern, KarreKern, LCSW, there I am. With an awkward look on my face because that's my YouTube video, my intro YouTube video.
Okay. So there's a lot of ways that people can reach you. They can find you YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, your website.
Okay.
So people that are out there and would like to contact Karre, she's a wonderful person, and I would definitely trust her with anything I had going on. And there's very few people out there that I do. Nice to know that there is a kindred spirit, and I think a lot of people would benefit from contacting her, no matter what issues. Like she said, the smaller traumas, the larger traumas, they're all traumas, and whatever issues that you believe she could help with, please reach out to her.
And if you don't want to schedule a session, you can check out the YouTube channel. I screen videos and just put them up as public so that I take some of that work out.
And that's great to do that without getting to a place within the video that I guess you would say, if you'd like to know more, 1995.
Yeah, no, those are out. Those are not in my playlists.
Yeah. So please reach out to her. And Karre, I guess we'll wrap this up. So I want to thank Karre Kern for being my guest here today. A lot of interesting information. Please reach out to her. And I want to thank you again for being here and thank everyone for joining me. And until next time, peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Everyday Shaman. Please join me each week as we will explore new topics that I hope will inspire, educate, astound, and possibly confound listeners. If you have topic suggestions, if anything in this episode resonated with you, or you care to be a guest, I'd love to hear from you. You can contact me through my website, www.everydayshaman.net, or email me at jeffreybrunk@everydayshaman.net. You can also find my personal memoir, The Everyday Shaman, One Man's Journey into the Miraculous, on my website and on Amazon.com.